Okay. Hello. We are live. Oh, I forgot to put on my drawing sleeve. Hold on. I got to get on my sleeve. There we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming and hanging out while I draw. Today I'm working on a new illustration. As it turns out, there's not a lot of non-spoilery pages left in the current part of Age of Night that I'm on, so it's going to be a little while before we can do comic pages again. So I figured I'd just do some illustrating instead. Let's see if I can figure out what I'm doing here. Where's my eraser? Nope, not that one. This one. Yeah, I always have to be careful if I start using an eraser that I've previously used on blue line pages on something that is not going to have blue lines on it, because I have this blue gunk on here that I do not want to put on this. So I'm just going to rub that layer of it off on just the cardboard back here in the back of my pad so that I don't accidentally get little blue streaks all over my drawing, which I do not want little blue streaks all over. We do not want that. So I try to figure out the basic shape of what I'm doing here. Turn this slightly. That angle needs to be a little more extreme than that. Oh, need more lead. That's not quite right. Let's fix that a little bit. I think I made this little part of the hinge of the jaw here a little bit too big. Let's adjust that slightly. I can draw the skulls of humans pretty well, but animal skulls are pretty tricky. I really enjoy drawing them. I enjoy drawing skulls and bones in general. I just think the forms are really cool, but it's very easy to lose the proportion in them because it's not like what I'm used to. Hello. Yay. It's not the Geico gecko. Do you recognize what animal this is? It's got way too many pointy teeth to be the Geico gecko. Look at those fangs. And look at that giant orbital socket there. Look at that giant socket. It's a cat. It's a cat skull. And why am I drawing it? Because I think skulls are cool. Because I am still and always a weird little gothy kid at heart. Serpentor's skull from G.I. Joe. No. Okay, this came out a little too thin. That needs to come up a little bit. That's a little more like it. All right, and we've got some twofers. This has some depth to it there. A lot of this is going to get cleaned up quite a bit here. I'm just trying to figure out where everything goes. At the moment. It's got some depth to it. These ones are going to be here and here and here. And there's that little gap. Oh man, I feel like I have to sneeze. Oh no. Goodness. Sorry about that. All right, so back up here under that eye socket. We've got, needs to come up ever so slightly. Because then we've got tooth, tooth, tooth. We've got a fang. We've got the little row of the pointy teeth in front. And then another little fang over there. I gotta get the shape for his nasal cavity, which is very weird. There's the basic shape of it. Now we gotta figure out this skull shape up here. All right. I gotta clean up that eye socket. It's not quite right. So these fangs are bothering me. So and we've got a little one of these doodads. I don't know what the technical term for them are. The weird little holes that you get in skulls. I need to draw the mouse guard that was slayed the savage beast. Oh, maybe I'll do that next week. That'd be fun. Make a little mouse warrior. Okay. Refine this a little bit. this weird like gap in the eye socket around a cat's eye. It's so bizarre. That must be filled with cartilage or something. But it's just every time I see a cat skull, I always forget it's there and I'm always like, why? It's so weird. All right. So this is actually does not actually come out that far as I had it originally. That's more like it. That's more like a cat skull now. It's a little less pot-bellied. There we go. And then we've got the underside of the skull back here. I'm not going to get into super detail on that because I don't really want that to be popping forward ahead of the teeth and everything. So it's just going to kind of be vague back in there. All right. Start cleaning up some of these lines a little bit so that we can keep moving along here onto the next step. All right, gotta make those teeth actually look like teeth instead of weird lumps. Let's go ahead and do that. There's like a weird little dip going on in here. There's a weird little ridge here along the cat's cheekbone, basically. Oh, there's another one of those little holes there. I don't know what the technical term for those is. Calcium deficiency equals weird lumps. Yes. Or that really horrifying thing that used to happen to people who worked in match factories in like Victorian England, phossy jaw, where exposure to the phosphorus in the matches would cause bone to like build up in people's jaw. It was truly gruesome. So they'd get these weird like giant malformed jaw lumps of bone, and it was pretty terrible. Terrible and weird. All right, tooth. Now it's time for the big tooth. Got the big tooth. And the row of little teeth. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of the little teeth. That kitties have in the front there. All right, it's starting to look like an actual skull. And like this tooth is overlapping that tooth ever so slightly. And these teeth are shaped so funny. Weird little, like, almost look like weird little candies with this weird little peak on the top. A few of those little holes down here. And we will get the curve of those lower fangs. All right, and then this is very weird in the reference image that I'm using, but it's the little tooths on the bottom are like what's forming that bottom edge because of the angle the jaw is at. Oh yeah, there's the other side of the jaw up top that I still need to do. Whoops. We will take care of that presently. This front tooth is like a shark tooth. It's like a shark tooth. Terrifying little carpet sharks. All right. There's the... Get the underside of this jaw here, which comes back here. It's just going to kind of be a suggestion back here. Oh, I do not like that tangent, though. I need to fix that. I do not like it one bit. That's slightly better. Not great, but not as egregious as it was. How's that? Okay, we have a cat skull. Now I need to look at my other reference, and we're going to add a little extra something to it. Add this right in here. Okay, so in here, we're going to add, I'm going to erase some of that. This little flower. Oh, thank you. This is the fun thing when you're only semi-paying attention. You just get to look over periodically and be like, whoa, what happened? What happened in the few minutes I was away? I always have fun with that too, because I put on a lot of art tubers while I'm like working on stuff just to have like noise in the background. And so because I'm working, I'm not like looking at the screen, and every once in a while I'll just kind of glance over and be like, oh wow, that really progressed in the 15 minutes since the last time I actually looked at it. All right, these little scribbles are not going to make a whole heck of a lot of sense until I get to the next phase, which is going to be color, which OMG, yes, I'm working on a color piece. Can you believe it? This piece is actually not going to be ink. Well, sort of. You'll see. All right, so these leaves have this shape to them. All right. They don't have that kind of like, so this is a catnip flower, and it doesn't, catnip leaves don't have that kind of like straight line vein thing like you expect to see on like an oak leaf or like a beech leaf or something. They have more like this weird little lizard skin interconnected line pattern to them. Like they have the central line, but then the little lines that branch off of it don't go straight out to the ends. They kind of start to branch and then they turn into like this weird lizard skin pattern. So you can't just do like line, 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 line like you would for a lot of other leaves. It would not look correct. It would look kind of weird because then it doesn't look like catnip anymore. But I'm not going to sweat that at this stage because that's not what this stage is for in the color process that I'm going to use. So that will hopefully make sense eventually. I'm not sure how far I'll get on this evening's stream, but we will get as far as we can in the hour that we are doing this. I will definitely at least be starting the color because I only have like one more thing to draw after this. So. That's part of why they have that that little like texture on the outside edges, and that's also part of why they feel so soft when you actually feel like a catnip leaf. All right, and then I wanted to do I want to do another little sprig? I think I think actually all I'm going to add is one more little leaf down here, and that'll do it for my catnip. All right. So the drawing part is done. So now I'm going to start working on, I get covered in eraser crumbs. Okay, that's better. So now I'm going to start working on coloring it. And I'm going to do this the way that I prefer to do color, which is with, I'll try very carefully not to knock anything over, with my Derwent Inktense water-soluble ink pencils. So I'm still kind of sort of using ink. I'm using colored ink in pencil form. Don't worry, it totally makes sense. It will. It will. So we're about halfway through the stream at this point. As I dig around looking for the right color. Because the color you need is always on the bottom. This is just a fact of life. All right, there's the one I wanted. You can tell I use this one a lot. It's very short. So yeah, these streams usually go for about an hour. So I will get as far as I can in this hour. So what you do with the Inktense water-soluble ink pencils, or what you can do, there's plenty of different ways that you can use them, is you make your big areas of color with them dry, kind of like you were using them like colored pencils. And then we will go over them with water, and they will turn into, they'll dissolve and turn into colored ink. It's a lot like the water-soluble colored pencils, but they are way more vibrant. They work a little bit differently than the water-soluble colored pencils, which I can go over when I start using them and start using the water on them. Just kind of a different beast. I like them a lot better. I feel like they dissolve a lot better. I like the way they blend a lot better. I like how opaque they are. I always was a little bit frustrated with the water-soluble colored pencils being not as opaque as I liked. Like you'd hit them with water and then they would wash way the heck out. And I'd just be like, why? That was not the color I thought I was getting. Whereas these actually get more vibrant when you hit them with water. So you have to be pretty careful and give them a pretty light touch while you're putting them down in the first place. You can always go back over and build up. You can't take them off once they're on there. So you may recognize if you watched my Marilude time lapse, this is the same technique that I'm using. I've done this on a few of the different colored pieces that I've filmed myself doing on this channel, because this is how I like to do color in traditional media. It's like a multi-step process. If I'm doing a particularly large piece, I'll actually start with watercolor. Like I'll do big swaths of just watercolor down first to just kind of build up that base tone without having to scribble all over the paper. Oh, no, stay still. Get the little toofs. Get the fang. Other fang. I've got to go over to my other reference image. Do I? Yeah. So I'm not like amazing at color. I'm never going to try to convince you that I'm amazing at color, but one of the few color like making things with color things that I really try to apply, which I do find helps a lot, is that if you're using a color to work it everywhere on the page, like that, yeah, some things are going to have like a little bit of a local color that it's going to be different, but a lot of the color that you're using should be the same throughout the entire piece. So like even though the cat skull is white and this flower is purple and green, you should still be using the same brown to try to build up the tones underneath them the same, because that will help it look more unified. Look like they exist in the same like place and the same lighting conditions instead of two like totally incongruent things that don't make any sense next to each other. Which is kind of a thing you get sometimes if you don't do that. All right, so I just used this one. What do I have next? I have this one. I need to sharpen this. This is very sad and short. Sad and blunt. Nope, wrong pencil sharpener. Keep digging. Right pencil sharpener. This one's got that nice fat opening for the colored pencils that you don't want to sharpen to a super fine point because they'll just break. All right, and that I didn't want to make it super sharp, just sharper. Build up a little bit more of that brown. Some of the darker tones in here. Right. Build up some of this stuff some more. All right, so that's that brown. I think I need to this skull now we need some yellow. All right, so I think, no. Okay, so the yellow I'm going to use is one called Mustard. It looks very brown on camera, but once water hits it, it is super yellow. Yes, and always cowbell, always. And that I'm going to put a little bit, like ever so lightly. You can hardly even see it. Just all over my cat skull to give it that yellowed, weathered bone look. I'll add a little bit more in a few places. So I'm going to add a little bit more back in here. I'm going to add more in these like places that are kind of pushed back. Going to add more in the medium tone areas. But it, again, despite all appearances, this, whenever you get a new one of these colors, you really have to like play with it and figure out what it looks like, because the way they look dry is not what they look like once you hit them with water, which is one of the challenges of using these, but I just love them so much. I'm willing to put up with it. Fair bit of yellow around the teeth here. Good amount of yellow down in here. That's going to be more pink. That's going to get a little extra yellow. All right. Oh yeah, back here we want a little bit more. All right, there's a little bit of like a pinky color in some of this. Where's my... All right, so madder brown is actually like a reddish brown. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm planning on doing fairly soon, actually, is a tutorial on like, how do you use these crazy things that I use? Because they're pretty weird. So through here, there's a little bit of pink. It's just going to give some of these shadows more of a pink tone instead of a yellow tone. And then on the areas that are a little lighter and want a little pink tone, I'm going to actually use a little bit of pink. Again, very, very lightly, because it's going to show up a lot stronger than that. And I need a bluish color. Let's see, what do I want to use? I think I'm actually going to use iron green, which has like a blue tone to it for some of this. We're going to do a little bit of that in here. A couple of these areas where these shadows want a little bit of a blue tinge to them. I got another dark blue. Where are you? Where's my indigo? Dang it. There it is. It was hiding on me. All right. A little bit of indigo action in here. Just a tiny bit in a few of these spots. Like up in here. All right. So I'm going to now move back over to my flower. I have just purple, but it's just like, it's just purple. It's just purple. It's just like a medium purple. Well, kind of a darkish purple. As with most like colored pencil set things, they don't actually, like if you buy a pack of them, the colors you get in that pack are in fact a useless combination. Like you will use 4 of those colors and the other 8 you will almost never touch. So I try to buy them open stock, but then the problem, like I said earlier, is that you don't really know what you're getting when you just look at the pencil. You don't really know what the colors are going to look like. So it's kind of tricky. All right, I'm going to use that iron green again. I'm going to work on flower a little bit here so that hopefully I have some time to do some of this. Do some of the actual water soluble part of this with you guys. I do want to try to fit that in. All right, where did my... Use some of that mustard on the lighter part of it, of the leaves. So again, we're kind of tying all those colors together. Trying not to get my big head in the way. Challenge myself with the unloved colors. I mean, I try to find stuff to do with them, but a lot of those colors, it's just like if you're trying to go for a natural style, like if you want things to actually look like they do in life, you're just not going to use them. If you're doing stuff just to be like decorative and cool, then yeah, you could definitely find some cool uses for them, but some of them just don't make sense for when you're trying to make things look realistic. A little bit of that purple on these little purple flowers. And they've got a little yellow center. All right, get some of this bright green up in here. Bright green in those areas. Like, I think this green, actually, this apple green was like part of the starter set. It's like I'm using it on catnip, but aside from an aggressively bright green color, like bright green plant like that, it's not the type of green you use super often. All right. I think after this green, I might be able to start using the water and see what we have. I forgot to put some of that apple green in the middle of this little spire of buds in the middle here. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see, we're at 47 minutes, so we'll have just enough time to do a little bit of this. So now I'm going to start using a watercolor brush, a small one for a lot of it. I've got a bigger one I can do for some of these bigger areas, and start activating the water-soluble inks, and wish me luck. So the cool thing about the Inktense water-soluble ink pencils is that one of the cool features of them is that once you have activated the ink and it dries, it's set. You can go back over it with water and it will not move. So it's actually a good idea if you have any dark little details to pick them out first, because otherwise that when you go over that with water, that little detail would get lost. It would just like bleed out everywhere. But if you hit the detail with the water first and let it dry, now it's set. It won't go anywhere. So I'm going to get kind of the edges around some of these teeth. Some of those little pockets in the bones. Oh, my big... it'll blend with the other... It won't blend with the other colors once it's dry. No, they'll just stay put, which is why I'm doing the little details that I don't want to move around first. And that's also... You have to work fairly quickly because they do dry pretty fast. But now, like, I can go once, like this... Now that, like, this is dry right here, I can blend all around it and this won't move. It won't reactivate and blend when you hit it. Say if you... What? Oh, yes. If I forgot to do one, then it would absolutely blend around with the other colors, and I'll show you that in a minute. So like right here, I want to get this little edge. I want that nice and crisp, but then this, I'm gonna blend. Again, working pretty quickly because this stuff dries fairly quickly. Gonna blend that out. But I'm not going to come around and do that edge because I want that edge to stay pretty crisp. So I'm going to kind of move on and let that dry before I do that part. So you also have to be very careful. It's kind of like a funky acrylic. It's very unusual. It's a very quirky medium, and I enjoy it, but it's definitely a strange beast. It took me a little while to figure it out when I first got into them. But now you see here, that doesn't go anywhere because I let it dry. You've got to be really careful about lap marks with stuff drying down before you get back around to it. Same thing with this nasal cavity. It's all dry, so I can go right over that edge and it doesn't move. Whereas right in there, I kind of mashed all the little details of the edges of those teeth together, and they just kind of all turned into a blur. So that's something I'll have to go back on another pass and try to redefine. But you see how nicely the colors can blend together. Yeah, and you can lay it on a lot thicker. When I come in and do the eye socket, you'll see that what it's like where it's laid on a lot thicker. Right here, I have it all over the skull. I have it really dilute because I didn't want it to be super thick because I still want to be preserving that white illusion. But the really cool thing about them is that you get like, you do all your color mixing dry and then you just kind of make it go where you want it once you make it wet. And I don't know, I just really like the way that they work. You got to approach it a little bit differently than a lot of other mediums, but I enjoy how they come out. Let's see, is the edge of that dry yet? Looks dry enough. I can probably do that. So this right here is dry, so now I can come in and do that, and it's not going to mess up that edge. And you can see in here where I laid it on a lot thicker that it's a lot, you get a much thicker ink where more of the pigment is on the page already. Meow. Masking material. Yeah, I could, but I usually don't bother. I usually don't bother. I just try to control my water and make sure I'm using paper wherein that will work. And this water soluble ink also dries wicked fast. Like, it's dry within a couple of minutes, so you really just kind of bounce around the image into two areas where you're bordering something that's dry, so you don't have to worry about it running into other wet materials. Other areas that are already wet. So like I just did up here, but this is already pretty much dry. Dry enough, like it's still damp to the touch, but it's dry enough that I can actually work right next to it and not worry about it bleeding. All right, we've got less than 5 minutes left because I've gotten into the zone on this. So let me just quickly tell you the things. I'm Amanda Call. Normally, you see me on here working on one of my comic pages for my webcomic, Age of Night. That's not what I'm doing today. I'm just doing a random illustration of a cat skull. And my actual cat is trying to get in here. No. Get. You don't belong in this. Anyway. But you should check out my webcomic, Age of Night, at ageofnight.com. That's AGEOFNIGHT. You can read the whole thing for free. And I update every Wednesday. You can also support me on Patreon, which would be very cool, and I would like it a lot. I'm going to work on the flower these last couple of minutes here. If you like watching me do cool art stuff here on the YouTube, then make sure that you are subscribed to my channel and like this video and show people, oh my God, look at this cool thing, because that's all very helpful and I appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at Age of Night, spelled like my comic. You can follow me on Instagram at Amanda Call Art. Pretty little purple flowers. I'm trying to get them to do that, like, they're supposed to be like a little bit white in the middle with like a purple edge. So I was trying to get them to do that little border thing. I'm not going to quite get to finish doing the water on this before the hour is up. And there is actually one whole other step to my color process after this, but I guess we will have to save that for next time. Although if you do check out, like, I have a few other traditional color time lapses and stuff on here. The Mari Lud one is the most recent one I posted around the holidays, and you'll see if you watch that what the final step is. But we will have to just work on this again some next week, I think, so that you can see me finish it up, because I think that's going to do for tonight. You see how when I have like a lot of pigment on there, like how bright that leaf is, how intense those colors are. That's why I really love this medium. Well, thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with me, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next time. Bye.